And we all know that as we grow, sometimes by default, some folks get left behind. And sometimes, despite every effort not to go without them, some folks get left. The same applies for healing. It is a hard thing. It's actually awful when you realize that not only your growth requires separation from people you love, but your healing.
So, Passion, what do we do?
Passion public service announcement. Passionate. Let me tell you something. So what is this Passion PSA podcast? Who am I? Well, they call me Passion, short for Passion No Last Necessary. Why is there no last name necessary? Because the first name says it all. I am Passion and all that embodies. What do I do here? I give you the life coaching that you know you need, but don't enroll yourself in. When did I start? Actually, 2017. I'd leave a PSA on my Instagram regarding something I'd observed, and now we've evolved to this. Why do I do it? Why not? If even one person is able to take away one thing that changes their life, someone else's life, or changes the world for the better, then I've done what I was charged to do. So come on in, sit and listen for a while. There's something here for everyone at the Passion PSA podcast. Greetings and salutations, my beloved passionate newcomers, visitors, and guests. Welcome to episode 13 of season 8 for real this time of the Passion PSA podcast, where I, Passion No Last Necessary, your Get You Right guru, issue a weekly public service announcement about whatever I've observed or was on my mind. This is a for your consideration zone where the objective is to offer you a perspective you may not have previously considered to A, expand your thinking, and B, aid you in becoming a better version of yourself, and for others. This is a safe space, but not necessarily a delicate one. I'll never rob you of your right to feel what you feel, same way I won't sugarcoat the truth to make it more palatable. The goal is to get you to higher, more expanded thinking so you can operate as your highest and best self. If you're new here, affirmations are our first order of business so we can intentionally raise the vibration and start on one accord. Let's get on the same frequency. If you're ready, go ahead and take a deep breath. You are always welcome to repeat after me or to use this time to state your own affirmations. I am healing. I am growing. I am becoming. I am expanding. I am increasing. I am improving. I release negative thoughts. I release negative energy. I release negative people. I remove myself from negative environments. I am well. It is well. All is well. Well is all. Ashe, ashe, ashe. Fashion is if I look sleepy, it's because all of a sudden I am extremely sleepy and I have to get ready for work. So this is rough, but I'm going to power through. We're going to get it done. So this was my third start on this episode, right? And the joke is that it wasn't 3 restarts on the same episode. It was actually 3 separate starts on 3 different topics. Clearly, a lot has come up for me recently. So today, I thought it was going to be a quickie, but it's not. Okay. And part of that was because this realization is fresh, and also because I felt like the episode needed room to breathe, because sometimes you just need to sit with a thing as opposed to over discussing it. But there were details, and so it might be lengthy. Ride with me. So when you're self-aware and doing self-work, confrontation is a regular thing. Most people immediately assume that when you say confrontation, you're talking about conflict with someone else. Those confrontations also come up, and often more frequently than we would like. But I'm talking about those moments that you don't quite recognize. Like, you don't recognize the moment as a man in the mirror moment. When the uncomfortable conversation, the argument, the thing happens. And bigger than the thing is what the thing is trying to show you. It's interesting that all 3 topics that I was going to discuss today were rooted in communication and what those communications showed me. That's clearly something coming up for me. But anyway, I'm thinking that this might end up being another series, and this is part 1. So I'm having a conversation with person A, for whom Valentine will be today's stand-in. Okay, Valentine asked me how long I've been working in my current department, but misspeaks and refers to it as security. And I experience that a lot with our callers. They ask us to send security and we correct them. We don't have security guards. We have police officers. And most of them are obnoxious and they don't care what the correct terminology or classification is. They just want somebody sent.
President, does it really matter?
To some people, no. Nothing matters. Their name is Tasha, and people call them Tisha, Keisha, Sasha, Toya, Tanya, Tasia. Everything but their name. What is tapping? Child. And they answer. Some because they don't know that names carry vibrations and resonance, and answering to something other than your name has energetic repercussions. Some, they answer because correction is exhausting, and it's just easier to answer and say, I know what you meant, than to go back and forth. Now, I definitely get the it's just easier argument, but accepting things and not pushing back has its own implications. We've been talking about pushing back since season 1, right? Right. So the same applies when we're talking about work titles. In medicine or in a healthcare facility, a PCT, right? A patient care tech doesn't have the same training as a CNA, an RN, an NP. Therefore, they cannot perform the same duties. And it's the same all the way up the chain, like I just said, right? So now while a CNA might call themselves a nurse because of their job duties, an LPN, an RN, and an NP would definitely not agree and would not allow themselves to be referred to by any other title, especially one that is lesser qualified than they are. So the same way a police officer and a peace officer are slightly different, a peace officer and a security guard are also different. They're not interchangeable. Okay. Valentine is aware of how often people use these terms interchangeably, and is also aware that many times they do it intentionally to diminish the responding officer. Valentine has one of those positions where titles are not interchangeable and would correct someone if they called them anything outside of their qualifications. So when Valentine asked me how long I've been working for security, I said, I don't work for security. Instead of Valentine correcting themselves, Valentine retorted,
I'm not doing semantics with you.
Now, the definition of semantics is the study or science of meaning in language, the competence of a speaker with regard to the interpretation of the meaning of linguistic structures, the study of relationships between signs and symbols and what they represent. Valentine's competence wasn't being challenged, but the correction was an immediate offense for Valentine. So the conversation ended shortly thereafter because when you see a thing isn't going well, sometimes the best thing to do is cut it short. I'm not in my feelings, so I reach out to Valentine the following day with no response. I figured Valentine might be in their feelings, so I leave room for that. Following day, I get a text to which I respond, but get no follow-up. I reach out later. Valentine can't talk. No problem. I hurry to get off the phone so as not to completely disrupt what they have going on. The next day, we speak, no issues, no complaints. Valentine acknowledges they're wrestling with their own thing, and their responses and reactions are probably a direct result of what they're navigating. And I get that. I can empathize. Valentine requests some information that I'm not able to provide because I don't have access to it when asked. Valentine says, no rush. I just wanted to have it so when I need it, I can do what needs to be done. Okay, no problem. Next day, I call Valentine to give them the information they requested. Now, I know that I'm not going to be available to talk later, so I tell Valentine, try it now, because I'm at a place where I can and I'm willing to troubleshoot and offer support. Valentine isn't feeling well, but Valentine never said that. So Valentine aggressively declines, then states they're not feeling well, thanks me for the information, and then hangs up on me. Now I'm tight. And as I'm thinking about how to proceed, whether I should send a text or I should just disengage, unbeknownst to me, Valentine is thinking the same thing. Okay. I'm focused and I'm working on something, so my phone's been on DND. So I'm unaware that Valentine has called back and left an unpleasant message. I do, however, see the missed call and I call back. Now, the gist of that conversation was,
I don't like how you've been talking to me. Watch your step. I'm not the one, and I'm off you until further.
okay. So while I'm in total agreement that space and time are the only things that will benefit this situation, I'm also infuriated because there are so many times and places where we're dealing with someone who we care about. And sometimes we're dealing with people we don't care about, right? Like somebody at work. But we have to preserve the relationship for whatever reason. And they are very comfortable with how they speak to us and simultaneously very protective of how they're spoken to. And we're all guilty of it, right? Full stop. And let me repeat myself. We're all guilty of it. No one is an exception. Argue with yourself. Some of us are intentionally callous when we talk to people, but let them even consider talking to us in any way out of pocket. It's going down. One of the issues is that when we're on the receiving end, we don't think of how this may have been karmically returned to us. We're focused on the 5 W's and the how of now, because never mind who I did this to, when, or why. Let's keep the main thing the main thing. Are you willing to admit that? So that's definitely one confrontation. If you believe karma is real, then you know karma is a boomerang and returning to you what you've given, just not necessarily from the person you gave it to. The next confrontation is that different perspectives result in differences of opinion in handling. Many supervisors of yesteryear took pleasure and pride in talking down to their employees. There was the confident protection of, I'm your boss and I have the power to fire you, so take it or be unemployed. Many of us have family, specifically parents, that are like that.
You're an adult. You should be making better decisions. You're an adult. Act like it. You're an adult. Nobody should have to tell you that. You should have figured this out by now.
Same parents.
I don't care how old you are. I brought you in this world, and I'll take you out of it. If you talk to me like that again, I'll knock your teeth down your throat.
Same parents, again, after these very not empty threats of violence.
I haven't heard from you in a while. Why haven't you checked in?
This second confrontation is one of the hardest, not because you can't teach an old dog new tricks. For some people, believe it or not, they've waited their whole life to have their turn to make someone feel small like they felt at some point, so they're gonna capitalize on it. For some others, they've never seen any other style of leadership. So supervisor or parent, that's what they know, and doing something otherwise is either too foreign, too soft and ineffective, too much work to switch up now, so they'll do it how they've been doing it until you submit or quit. And at the point where you can't or won't take it anymore, parent, supervisor, anybody that outranks you, they'll then blame you and your makeup, and they won't take ownership. And that might feel like a good place to clap your hands. But again, some of us are the very people we can't stand. Passion point. Justifying being a monster to someone doesn't make the person on the receiving end of your behavior see you as any less of a monster. So if we're looking within and taking account of how we're handling people, whether we're the ones who've waited our whole lives to throw our authority around, or we're from environments where there weren't any other examples, there are plenty of other examples now. It may still feel foreign, and it may even feel like the impact isn't significant enough. But if you want the dynamics to improve, while it might be a lot of work, it's not too much. Too much, never too much, never too much. The third confrontation requires a little more expansion and some time. I'm going to let the beat drop. I'm not going to walk over to the whiteboard. We press for time, right? 3 words that we're going to focus on today. Heal, grow, become. In self-help, in self-work, in any kind of therapy, healing and growing are terms that come up frequently. But as we discussed earlier with job titles, all words are not synonymous or interchangeable. Now let's start with the definition of heal. According to Merriam-Webster, heal means to make free from injury or disease, to make sound or whole, as in to heal a wound. To make well again, to restore to health, like healing the sick. To cause an undesirable condition to be overcome, mend. To patch up or correct a breach or division. To restore to original purity or integrity, as in healed of sin. Okay. And then in the intransitive form, to become free from injury or disease, to return to a sound state. Okay. Grow means to develop to maturity, to undergo development. That's 1A. Specifically, to develop and pass through childhood into adulthood. To be able to exist and develop in some place or situation. To assume some relation through or as if through a process of natural growth. To increase in size, length, usually by natural processes. Increase, expand, like growing in wisdom. To improve or become more developed, mature. to gradually form an opinion, attitude, etc., to pass into a condition. And then finally, we're going to look at become. I wanted to shed light on become because it was used as a synonym for grow, and it means to come into existence, to come to be. And the last definition is to undergo change or development. Passionate, walk with me here. I want you to see the difference in real time, not just definition. In the show intro, you see a montage of clips from the Passion Public Service announcements that ultimately led to this show, right? In that montage, you see my hair in a variety of stages and lengths, from bald to shoulder length. My hair grew. Definition 2A. I once had a leaf cutting that I wanted to see if it would grow if I just put it in some dirt and watered the dirt. It was in a glass jar, so I was able to confirm that it could and did grow a root and actually grew another or maybe even a few more leaves. I think that's why I had to get rid of it, because I couldn't repot it. Anyway, that goes back to definition 1, right? Back in the day, DeVry was called DeVry Institute and ran commercial ads on TV for people to enroll. A little over 2 decades later, DeVry has expanded, is a university, and people come from all over the globe to study there. Definition 2B. Now, on the flip side, I had a peace lily that was huge when I got her and was thriving. A lot of changes in environment and some unfortunate neglect. She was down to barely anything. So I started giving her a solution that she likes. She started getting better. Definition 1B of heal, right? Currently, I'm doing a 21-day detox. I felt like a heavy metal detox was what I needed, and the one I found recommended that it be paired with a worm and parasite detox. Here we are. Why did I choose this? Because we can see, well, you can't see it, but right here, I have a bruise on my arm, origin unknown, but the bruise is visible. We can't see what's going on in the body, and we're shrugging off a lot of our issues and charging them to the game with things we know about, like being tired from not getting enough sleep. But the same things we're charging to the game and assuming are the result of one thing are actually the result of something else. So I'm doing the detox to remove toxins, flush out parasites, and rid myself of damaged cells and dis-ease so I can restore myself to health. If I'm not fully healed after this, I know what steps I've taken, so I have a launching pad to spring from. Definitions 1A and B. Okay, from season 1 to now, my hair has grown. It increased in length, but the reason I cut it in the first place was because it was damaged and I didn't think it could be repaired. I didn't think it could heal. But from here to here, I've been able to heal some of the internal issues and identify other issues, which in turn is allowing my hair to grow. My nails are currently uneven. They're growing, but some of them were damaged, so I had to cut them. To heal them, I have to change things in my consumption so they grow stronger, which will prevent future damage. Some of the damage is environmental, chips and nicks due to banging into things, etc. That damage can't always be avoided, so it has to be cut off. Are you starting to see the parallels? You can grow and still be unhealed. And it's quite possible the damage will grow right along with you. Because hair grows from the roots and not the ends. The hair can continue to grow out of your scalp. The issue is that the split end will continue climbing up the hair shaft until ultimately it reaches the follicle where it becomes irreversible. And the same way you can grow and not heal is the same way you can heal and not grow. In some cases, it's a thing that wasn't supposed to continue growing, right? Like when I fractured my toe, the break healed, but my foot wasn't supposed to do any more growing. But with personal development, you can go to therapy, identify the issue, identify the root of the issue, come up with ways to correct and address the issue, put the work in, and successfully move forward. That's healing, right? But that doesn't necessarily mean that you're increasing, expanding, or maturing beyond where you are right now.
Wait a minute, Passion. You're saying you can do all that work and not be more mature?
No. I'm saying maturing in one area doesn't constitute maturing in all areas. For example, Boy has resentment towards his mother that spills over into every engagement he has with women in general. Boy goes to therapy and puts the work in. He's better able to navigate engagement with his mother, and he's no longer projecting those issues onto the women with which he engages. That hurt, that trauma, those relationships are healed. He's still a slob. He's still not a good steward over money. He still does He may have healed some damage in one area, but it's not overall growth. Does that make sense? Passionate, write this down. Order matters. Unhealed children grow up to be unhealed adults. I know several people who broke something, a toe, a finger, and although it healed, it didn't heal properly. For those for whom the injury took place when they were younger, because it didn't heal correctly, it didn't grow correctly. Now, for those who've experienced these types of injuries in adulthood, where these limbs or extremities were beyond growing, because those injuries didn't heal correctly, they don't work the same. Can you still use your hand if you break your finger and the bone doesn't set properly? Absolutely. Will you still have the same range of motion? Possibly not. And that doesn't seem like a big deal because it's not paralysis, right? But it's a big enough deal when the limitation actually prevents you from doing something you want or need to do. Can growth and healing happen concurrently? Of course. Is there a preferred order? Heal first. Healing allows you to grow more, grow further, and sometimes grow faster. And we all know that as we grow, sometimes by default, some folks get left behind. And sometimes, despite every effort not to go without them, some folks get left. The same applies for healing. It is a hard thing. It's actually awful when you realize that not only your growth requires separation from people you love, but your healing. There are many cases where the only way for you to truly heal is to remove yourself from someone's life. And there are several reasons. The most obvious is because you might not be able to heal with them around. A little less obvious is that healing doesn't look or sound the same for everybody. So we could actually both do copious work and still not be in a place where we can grow and go together. A super important one is that healing from what's already transpired doesn't mean you're healed from what's to come. Healing from past trauma doesn't prevent new trauma. You may handle new trauma more effectively, but that doesn't mean a curveball can't get thrown at you. Remember a few episodes back when I said the tools that are effective in the apartment may not be heavy duty enough for the house? It's the same thing. Furthermore, if you're dealing with someone who enjoys triggering people, no matter how much work you do, they'll work just as diligently to find new ways to knock you off your square. And some people don't even work at it. For all the self-work you do for self-improvement, for your peace, your evolution, your balance, your understanding, you haven't done work that will appease them. So they'll continue to talk at you, down to you. They'll continue to handle you carelessly because they have an opinion on what your development should look like. And if it doesn't look like what they've imagined, you're wrong.
So, Passion, what do we do?
Passion is sometimes all you can do is cut your losses. You may only be able to do them in doses. You may only be able to communicate with them in a written format. You may have to keep it limited with them like I'm talking about like very surface. Hey, how are you? And that's it. You may have to disengage altogether.
Passion, you can't disengage from your boss. Like, what are you even talking about right now?
Remember what I told you about Pat? I did my best not to interact with her because it generally didn't go well. I got to a point where communication was cut and dry. No pleasantries, no small talk, no filler conversation. Did you finish this? No. When will it be finished? This afternoon. Remember, I think it might have been season 2 when I talked about the employee who started on Wednesday and quit on Friday because they weren't about to be part of that circus? You can disengage from anybody. You know I'm a fan of closure, so I'm all for a departure speech or a Dear John letter. But if the relationship is that toxic, sometimes you just have to cut it completely short where it is. No explanation. And then it's your choice if down the line they ask you what happened, you give an explanation or not.
Okay, like, you can quit your job, but you can't really, like, quit your family.
I mean, I'll say this. Cutting ties with anyone of significance has pros and cons. The dissolution of a relationship can be as traumatizing as being in the relationship, if we're being real. But if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. If it's causing you more harm than good or doing more damage than healing or allowing healing, you have to decide if the cost to stay in it is worth it. Now, will it be easy? Probably not. Will it be enjoyable? Probably not. Will it be necessary? In some cases, yes. In some cases, it'll be the only option. And my prayer is that it never comes to that for you. But if it does, I offer you strength, peace, comfort, and endurance. Okay? We're not getting out of here alive. And we're not getting out of here unscathed. But we don't have to leave here broken beyond repair. So that was my not so quickie. Listener letters can be sent to my brilliant friend passion@gmail.com. Donations can be sent via Linktree, Zelle, or PayPal. Links are in the description box. Leave a comment, subscribe to the channel, share the link. Help me help others help themselves. That's it, and that's all. Passionate, your Get You Right Guru is signing off. Y'all go forth, be great, be filled with bliss, be armed and empowered with knowledge. Assess the situation. See if it makes more sense to stick it out or end it now. Do what's best for your peace and your sanity. And in all things, be passionate. See you later.